Okay, so the Capcom Showcase happened not long ago, and people were kind of disappointed with the lack of Resident Evil presence there. There was no information, there was nothing people wanted to see from the series, and I kind of want to go over, what people were hoping to see and when you could probably expect to see it, maybe in the future. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So the big thing people wanted to see from the showcase was the announcement of the Separate Ways DLC for the RE4 remake and the Mercenaries additional characters in the form of Wesker and Ada. We know the DLC is coming, it's in the files, it's been kind of decrypted and stuff. It's just a case of when, and it wasn't shown. People were kind of hoping it was going to be shown there. I think they only showed the VR version of RE4, and they briefly mentioned the Reverse, which is like the only mentions of Resident Evil that were there. In terms of Separate Ways, I'm in no real rush to play it. I really do want to play it, but I don't expect to be playing it like as soon as possible. Realistically, RE4 is still fairly new, it's only a couple months old. And obviously this DLC is probably being worked on longer than the Village DLC, because obviously the Village DLC was not planned until after development, but the Separate Ways DLC is probably something that's been made alongside the game. Maybe it's just not ready yet, maybe they want to wait a little bit before they release it. Either way, people were expecting it to showcase and it didn't show up. Another thing that people were kind of hoping for, and this is a big one that is like mentioned every single time a showcase happens, and I still think it should happen, but it hasn't yet, is the original trilogy being ported to modern consoles. This is specifically sparked up again due to Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid 3 is getting remade, and before that, the original trilogy, as well as Metal Gear 1 and 2, are being ported to modern consoles, and people are saying, if Metal Gear Solid is doing this, why isn't Resident Evil doing this? And it would be cool, and RE1 is playable on PS5 if you have like the premium PlayStation Plus subscription, but I think having a trilogy port would be really good. But again, it's something that hasn't ever been mentioned, so I don't see it happening anytime soon, but it would be cool to see. Of course, Resident Evil 9 was a big one as well. I, again, don't expect to see anything about that until the end of the year or next year. I don't think that's going to be announced anytime soon, so don't hold your breath on that one. And that's very unlikely to happen right now, especially with RE4 being so new, and the DLC is still coming, so I don't expect to see anything from RE9 until next year at least. But yeah, they were the big things people wanted to see. What we do know is coming is the new animated movie, Death Island, is out next month, which I'll be watching and probably kind of posting a video on my thoughts on it. I can't wait to watch that. We've got Resident Evil 4 VR, which is crazy. I actually had the chance recently to play Resident Evil Village in PlayStation VR 2, and it is so fun. So I'd imagine Resident Evil 4 VR is going to be just as good, with the parry system and all that. That'd be really cool to see, and I can't wait to give that a go. So in terms of when to expect these announcements, mainly the Resident Evil 4 stuff, I think the main thing you kind of want to take away from the showcase, and before we even get to that, is Resident Evil, it isn't Capcom's only franchise. They've just released Resident Evil 4, you've got Exo Primal coming out next month, which had a beta this past weekend. You've got the new announcement for that new game, I completely forget the name of, that they announced. Street Fighter 6 just came out as well, and yeah, okay, different studios work on different games, Capcom are the publishers, that's fine, but they're allowed to showcase other games, and that leads me to kind of my point about Resident Evil. Now, I don't know if it's true for any other games in their kind of lineup, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Resident Evil like to do their own showcases. They did it for Village a few times, and it was more exciting for Resident Evil fans, because you knew it was going to be about the franchise. You knew you were going to get Resident Evil news from a Resident Evil showcase, and I think, honestly, they'll probably do another one for Resident Evil 4 and announce the DLC there. Those shows have been a big hit with Resident Evil fans when they have done them, so I see no reason why they can't do them again, and the presentation of them is really well done, so I think doing it that way, rather than it being kind of part of the whole Capcom lineup, would be better. I don't know when they'll do one, if they do one, but I would imagine any kind of news from now would come around the Gamescom kind of time, which I believe is August, September kind of time. I'm not completely accurate on that, I don't think, but that's a potential. Also got Tokyo Game Show, which is around like I believe that's from like the September to November kind of time. But either way, there are plenty of events coming up that could include the DLC, but in terms of separate to those big events that show loads of games, you have a Resident Evil showcase. They haven't announced one, they can announce one at any given time, but that's how I see it being announced. I could be wrong, but that's kind of how I see it. But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up. I know for the Resident Evil side of things, the Capcom Showcase was kind of disappointing, but I would say I saw Pragmata, which I was interested in, and although it wasn't really much of anything, it was still good to see them acknowledge that game. I'm also a big on Street Fighter 6 at the minute. I really enjoy playing that game, so seeing them hype up all the tournaments and stuff like that was really cool. So I don't think the Capcom showcase was terrible. It could have been better, 100%, but there was things in there that I kind of enjoyed seeing. But obviously for Resident Evil fans specifically, it wasn't that great. But that's pretty much going to do it. Remember to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. When do you expect to see the Resident Evil 4 DLC? What other Resident Evil announcements do you want to see soon? Do let me know. But yeah, thank you for watching. Remember to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and subscribe if you are new. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one.